any item not listed on the agenda. Pursuant to the Brown Act, the board cannot consider issues or
regularly monitor this campus. Students will quickly recognize this limited presence and may invite more disruptive behavior. I respectfully urge you to reconsider the decision to eliminate the vice principal's position. The potential consequences on staff safety, staff well-being, and school culture are significant, and I believe maintaining this role is essential in preserving the positive progress we've worked so hard to create. Thank you for your time.
thank you. With what looks like no other public comment, we'll move into closed session where we're discussing property parcel number 117-040-055 located at 2839, or sorry, I'm just going to do 28398 South Cloverdale Boulevard. 2 agency negotiators with our superintendent, 3 negotiating parties. the estate of Paul, is it Serralo?
Sure.
Okay. Under negotiation, request of ingress, egress, easement of Kelly Road, public employee discipline dismissal release, public employee performance evaluation, superintendent, conference with labor negotiators, tax, CSEA, unrepresented, and then superintendent. So we will move into closed session at 4:35. At 6 p.m. Could we all stand for the pledge, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so do we have a motion for, oh, sorry, I need to read the gray box first, yeah. Okay, so the board reserves the right to change the order in which agenda items are discussed and or acted upon at this meeting. Subject to further action by the board, the agenda for this meeting is to be approved as presented. Items may be added to this agenda for discussion or action only as permitted by the Brown Act. Do I have a motion for approval?
Move to approve the agenda.
Okay, so I have a motion by Trustee Garrison. Okay, second by Trustee Lopez-White. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And then absent, we have our student rep. Okay. Okay, now moving on to public comment on consent and non-agenda items. The public may address the board on any consent or non-agenda item. Pursuant to the Brown Act, during this period, the board cannot consider issues or take action on any item not listed on the agenda. Time is limited to 3 minutes per person per item, 20 minutes per topic. Do we have any public comment on consent and non-agenda items? Okay. Now on to closed session reportable action taken. So H1, reportable action taken. During the previous closed session, the board acted to authorize the district superintendent or designee to notify an administrative employee, high school vice principal pursuant to Education Code 44951, that the employee will be released from his position for the 2025-2026 school year. The vote was unanimous. Now, on to consent calendar. The CUSD Board of Trustees utilizes a consent calendar for items that require the approval of the board but are of routine nature. They act upon these items in one vote. Any member may remove an item for additional questions. Board members receive their agendas and backup materials 7 days in advance of our meetings. They have the opportunity to ask questions and to do research prior to our meeting. It is their intent to handle the routine items expeditiously so that they have time to address issues that are more serious. Do any trustees want to pull an item? Any questions?
Not this time.
Okay, so can I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Okay, so trustee Ogamian, do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, trustee Zekowitz. Preferential?
Aye.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And no abstentions. Okay. Now, sorry, now I have to do this, all of this real quick. Oh, actually, let me just do this. Yep, I'll just go. Okay, so on to association reports. CSEA does not have one. Does the Teachers Association of Cloverdale?
Good evening. My name is Renee Duvander, President of the Teachers Association of Cloverdale. Tonight, the board is being asked to accept 7 resignations and 1 retirement for the teachers, which you just did. After that, you'll vote on whether to cut 10.6 certificated positions and just over 5 classified positions. These aren't just numbers. They represent real people who have given their time and dedication to this district. Some of them, including tenured teachers, now have to go find new jobs. Losing these positions will mean larger class sizes, fewer student support services, and a direct impact on the quality of education we provide. This is also happening in the same year that the district had to file a county waiver because it did not meet the state mandated requirement to spend at least 55% of its budget on classroom teacher salaries. Instead, the district only allocated 50.94% in the 2022-23 fiscal year. The county recommended that the district monitor its spending to ensure it meets that 55% requirement in the future. So TAC would like to know, did the district meet the requirement for the 23-24 fiscal year? Or will another waiver need to be filed? And looking ahead, with no financial offer made in negotiations and these deep cuts to staff, will the district be able to meet the requirement going forward? If not, what steps are being taken to ensure that the necessary funding goes where it matters most, in the classrooms, to the educators who directly support your students? We understand that financial constraints exist, but within those constraints, choices are made. The choices we make now will have lasting consequences for our students, teachers, and schools. We urge the district to prioritize competitive salaries, manageable class sizes, and working conditions that allow us to provide the best education possible. We stand together as educators, as advocates for our students, and as members of this community. We urge you to do the same, to make choices that truly invest in our classrooms and students. Thank you.
Okay, now moving on to school reports. Jefferson Elementary.
Good evening. I just have one addition to our Jefferson Board report. Tomorrow morning, our first grade students will be displaying their leprechaun traps. They have made those materials with just the materials on our school campus, and it's a great STEM activity. You're welcome to come at 8:20 to see their traps and ask them lots of great questions on how they created it and their strategy for catching leprechauns. So outside of that, my board report is submitted, as submitted.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, on to Washington.
Good evening, everybody. Good to see you, and you have my report as submitted.
Thank you.
Thank you. Cloverdale High School.
Just so you know, I was asked to play the leprechaun at Jefferson, and I decided to just stick with Santa, so you have my report as submitted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, on to Special Education and Student Services report. As submitted. Oh, okay, as submitted. Educational Services report. Superintendent, as submitted?
Yes,
Okay.
as submitted.
Maintenance, Operations, and Transportation report. I know.
Good evening, as submitted.
Thank you. Okay, Hannah, Student Board Representative.
Spring break is next week for our students, which will be a nice break before that home stretch to summer. The junior and senior class prom is also the weekend after students come back from break. There have been a multitude of field trips within the past month taken by our child development, AVID, and FFA classes, and a few students of freshman plus senior classes are also taking field trips down to the junior college tomorrow. Last Wednesday, seniors held their infamous Mr. Eagle Senior Boys Pageant to raise money for their senior class trip, and spring sports are also finally now in session that some winter sports have come to an end. So for this year, we cheer on our softball, baseball, track, and tennis teams. And that's it.
Thank you so much. Okay, on to board reports. Who would like to go first?
Just
Okay.
I guess I will go. First of all, I went to a couple girls' basketball games. They were exciting. They made it all the way to the championship game of some section thing. I don't remember, but it was great. I was also able to go read at Jefferson Elementary School for some kindergartners. Very well behaved, by the way. Dr. Seuss, where's What Pet Should I Get? It's a great book. Additionally, attended the DLAC meeting. Got some great information, and I think that's all I have.
Okay, thank you.
I have nothing to report at this time.
Okay. Trustee Garrison?
Tomorrow at Washington at 7:45, there's a coffee chat, so all are welcome. Trustee Lopez White will be there with me. Today, Trustee Zekowitz and I attended the SAR board meeting. We saw 4 students total. Some were already under a SARB contract and some were new, and then we did a review. I was absent from Measure H. Next Tuesday is our first joint city and school subcommittee, so looking forward to that. I was also able to attend the Mr. Eagle fundraiser, lots of laughs, and I also participated in the Read Across America and got to read to a 2nd grade class, so that it's always fun to do. Thank you.
I have nothing to report other than I will be at the coffee chat tomorrow with Trustee Garrison.
Sounds good. I was able to attend the girls' basketball game against Fort Bragg. It was wonderful to watch. It was great. Took my kiddo with me, and I asked her if she wanted to play basketball, and she actually said no, only because it was such a well-fought game that I think she's a little bit more on the timid side. But it was so great to see our girls win. I also went to my first boosters meeting, which was great to kind of obviously get to know some of the coaches and budgets and all of that kind of stuff. And then we've got LCAP coming up here pretty soon, correct? So that'll be the next thing that I go to. I wish I could go to the Leprechaun Traps, though. That would be lovely. I'm just trying to make it to the awards assembly the week after spring break. So, and that's all for me. Okay.
You got the leprechaun here, though.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So last time you guys had talked about me coming back to figure out how much it would cost for us to be able to do a track and field replacement. And the replacement parts, the expected lifespan of a turf field is 10 to 12 years. And the synthetic track's expected lifespan is about 15 to 20 years. So what the next step is going to be is to have somebody come out and just kind of look at the condition that they currently are at, to see where we're at. And then if it's a non-fill, anyway, it's between 1.5 and 1.6 million dollars, but that's for the turf field and the track replacement. So not both. The turf field was about 1.1, and the other one was about $500,000 to do and it's not replacing the entire track. It's just another overlay, essentially, of the track. So depending on what was done before, if the other old track needed to be taken out and dug down, everything like that too, that's different. This is talking about just replacing the track surface itself for that part. So it looks like between 1.5 and almost 1.7 million for both, and roughly about $1.2 million for the turf, and another 500,000 for the track. And so the next update will basically be to kind of give us a condition of what it currently sits at, as far as that goes, how it's wearing, how we're doing on maintaining it, everything like that too. Also in the board packet was the W-Trans report. This is the report that the city did regarding pedestrian safety, essentially, both at the intersection of Cloverdale Boulevard and School Street, as well as North Street and Cloverdale Boulevard. So they wanted you guys to see this from that part, and of course I'm not going to go through it because it's a pretty lengthy report. There's just some other issues with, for example, on School Street, that are some of our issues, as far as like that, for example, that little crescent moon shaped parking lot that we have in front of the high school. That let out part there is really close to where the street is, right? So we would have to, in order to, so some of it's on us, right? Not all on the city of some of the confusion stuff. And so anyway, so I just wanted you guys to see this, and then talks will kind of be continuing as far as what we could do to be able to make things a little bit better. Also, I was also did the reading as well. I felt like I was set up a little bit. They had a lady with a dog before I got there, so I was supposed to bring animals to it, and so they were like, "Oh, it's just you, huh?" And so that's okay. It's been fun. I've done it about 4 times now, I think, so it's great. It's kind of nerve-wracking though, because I don't want to make a mistake. Although they probably wouldn't be able to catch me if I did make a mistake. But it's been fun for that. So hopefully you guys have got those emails to be able to sign up for that. So excellent. And they have people from all over the city, as well as some police officers and some firefighters, as well as some, they were able to get some authors to come in and everything like that too. So it's quite a wide range of people that come in and support that, which is great. So other than that, thank you.
Okay. So on to, thank you. R1 Measure H, so we're under report discussion, Measure H update.
I will talk a little bit about it during the next,
UTK.
Okay.
the next one.
Oh, okay. So R2, UTK Early Education Facilities Project Update.
So we just had a Measure H meeting regarding the project. We are progressing. However, there has been a delay in the funding because we were supposed to get our matching grant, or about approximately $6 million from the state out of the general fund monies, but those monies were already dried up, and so now we have to wait until they sell the next bond. So we're not looking at getting our money until possibly November or December of '25. So that basically has pushed back the start date a little bit for that. So we're working on that because we have a cash flow issue, as far as money coming in and such too.
Does that affect other funding? Because didn't we have to have part of certain funding? We had to have everything completed within a certain amount of time.
We didn't talk about we just talked about the main part, but I would believe it would be the same thing.
Okay.
Things would be pushed back a little bit on the funding
Okay.
for that part. Again, no control of ours because it's just the state. We were in line. It's promised money. It's just the money ran out. So now they have to sell the bonds in order to get more back in the coffers to be able to send out money. So, but we are still looking. We are on track for being done by the end of next school year for a move-in date to move into those buildings for the fall of 20. What would that be? 26. 26. Yes. Yeah. So we're hoping to be done around April-ish. But the date keeps moving. But we are, as you can see in the agenda tonight, we are getting some of the services ready to go, and we're doing some of the. There will be some stuff starting this week, this summer on the site work as well to get some of that stuff started for that part. And that's my update for that.
Okay. So on to R3 South Cloverdale property update.
Okay, so we've been talking about the south property for a while, and I know we've got a couple new board members, and we've talked about it since they've been on. So what I'm looking is I really want to get some direction on what we're doing with that south property. Whether we're going to think about selling it, keeping it, building on it, what are we going to do? If we decide to sell it, selling surplus property takes about 18 months to do that. There's several different processes you have to follow to do that. It's not just simple as putting a for sale sign up. Acquiring property is easy. Selling public property is a whole different ballgame. So that's why I want to kind of, if selling's the way we're going to go, or we're thinking about it, then we need to start thinking about that, because it's going to be a long process. I would say, I know 18 months, but I would say at least probably 2 years by the time we got stuff done. And there's no action tonight, I just want to throw that out there, that we really need to start making some decisions on what we're going to do. And if the decision is nothing, great, then I'll stop working on this with the property part, and we can just have it there. But then we're going to have a discussion about how we're going to mitigate fire and mitigate liability, and fencing and stuff like that too, because the more building that goes around it, the more people are around it, and the more it's accessible. All right? Any questions about that? Or any more information you'd like me to bring to you? We've talked about selling it, we've talked about...
What about
before I got
leasing
here,
it?
we talked about doing fields, right, and things like that. We also talked about potentially looking at doing housing. We brought all those people in, and so now we're kind of to the point where we need to kind of pick up a lane that we're going into. So, question, sorry.
What about leasing it? I don't know what someone would use it for,
You
but
mean like for stock, you mean, for example? Again, that would be the
because
discussion.
we could make
What
a
are we doing? If we're
profit.
going to keep it, then those would be the discussions
Okay.
we want to have. Yeah, do we want to mow it? Do we want to put livestock on it? Do we want to fence it? Do we want to, fire mitigation stuff? Because remember last year we did, with the local fire department was nice enough to come in and do the fire break around it, right? Because they basically used our land for training purposes for that, for the cat guys, which is great. We could still, they're more than willing to do it again. And we would do it this year because naturally we're not going to sell it for a while if we decide to go that route. But we need to start making some decisions on what we're going to do about that. So I just want to kind of preempt that. So is there anything that you need me to bring back, or information, or anything? Because I'm going to probably start putting that on our agenda so we can decide.
Current market value for it.
Okay.
What was
You mean like
invested?
try to get like maybe talk to a couple realtors just to see what they might think it's worth?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know that I'm
Is everybody else still with
definitely,
that?
Yeah.
I'm leaning towards selling.
Well, if let's say we go down the route of selling, that's 2 years, roughly 2 years, can we look at the avenue of leasing it in the meantime? Leasing it to,
Yes, of course. Yes.
I just wouldn't mind starting the process if it is going to be that lengthy. But then I guess the question is, how much is that process then going to cost us? That would be my concern. You know what I mean? Like, it's,
My understanding is it's not so much of cost as it is you have to
Just
have
time.
committees that you have to look at.
okay.
And then there's various timings that you have to give, since we're a public agency, that other public agencies have a right. And I don't pretend to know any of that, but that's my understanding, is it's a lot more of, not so much of paying for it, but the time passing for people to have opportunities. Does that
Well,
make sense?
If it's not going to be, and I'm obviously only speaking for myself, if it's not going to be money up front, it's more length of time, that's the kind of arduous process, then I'm all for looking at, like, starting that process, but then looking at the leasing also.
And I will
Yeah,
also
'cause it'll just
bring
be
back to you
temporary.
guys
Yeah.
the selling part, what that looks like and how that go about. I might have somebody come in here to talk a little bit about that process. Something
guess-
to do with the 7-Eleven meeting. I keep thinking of that number. It's called, but it's for something.
My concern is, I know we don't have funding for it now, but it is a property that we could use for our CTE programs that we have and for fields. And if we sell it, we don't have the ability to do that because there's no other location. So that's my concern, is if we go down that route, and then we wouldn't have the ability to do that. I know we can't now because we don't have the funds for it, but that's my concern about selling
Once
it.
it's gone, it's gone, right?
Yeah.
And I don't want to make a joke about like the smart train, but that's kind of how I feel about like the property, this idea of when will it happen? And will we ever see it happen? And the idea of putting that money back into Measure H, for me, I feel like it could just be better used. I totally understand what you're saying, Jackie. It's one of those things of just when, if ever, I guess is kind of my thought about it.
I'm on that same track.
That's all.
What do we have to invest in what we have now?
Yeah.
Well, and I'm still interested in the housing of it. I know we had the presentation, and that does cost money, but if there was a way where someone could,
Leverage.
yeah, that I would be interested in that, because that would be also a profit or an income for the district. If it wasn't, if there was a way to do it where we didn't have to come up with money and they're essentially like leasing the land from us or something like that, they would, I don't know. That's just another
Okay.
option, so.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, now we are moving on to discussion action items. So we have, there we go. We have S1, consideration and acceptance of donations. So we would like to thank Cloverdale Rotary. They donated $500 to Jefferson School. So could I have a motion?
I move to approve the acceptance of donations.
Okay, trustee Garrison makes a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, trustee Lopez White. Preferential?
Aye.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Okay, perfect. Now, moving on to S2, consideration and possible approval of the 2024-2025 second interim report. No, I know.
Okay, so the 24-25 second interim is being presented for your approval. This is the third of 4 financial reports that come to the school board every year. The next one that we'll be doing will be the June adoption in a couple of months. And kind of how do I make it go forward? I'm hitting the forward button.
Oh, it's okay. I got one, Michelle. Thank you.
Oh, that would help. Being on is good. That's okay. All right, so to talk a little bit about our unrestricted revenues for 24-25. The total of all of our revenues here is $17,724,777. And where we get our funds from are the LCFF state aid, and that is about 34% of our funding. The LCFF property taxes is that's the $10,830,464. That's about 61% of our funding. Then we also have unrestricted state revenues that come in. That's about 3%. And those unrestricted dollars are the mandated cost block grant, unrestricted lottery, and home-to-school transportation. Those are the 3 main areas that come under state revenues for unrestricted funds. The other, the last one is the local revenue of $293,965. That's about 2% of our revenue, and that's like use of facilities, the fair market value calculation that we have to do, and any donations and things that come in to the district. So the enrollment, average daily attendance, and the funded ADA, all of these things impact how we're funded. And as you can see that between 23-24 and 24-25, the difference between our funded ADA was $1,257.74 down to $1,223.82. That's a big drop. And then one of the things that we're looking at right now too is we've got P2 coming up, which is when we do our reporting for our attendance, and we're down about 35 kids right now. So we're kind of looking at that kind of anxiously to see how we're doing. So the next slide is where does our money go on these unrestricted dollars? And the total unrestricted expenditures is around $14,324,056. That doesn't include the contributions that have to go out. But of that pot, salaries and benefits make up 86% of our expenses there, with $12,386,000. Certificated benefit costs are running around a total of 22.96%. STRS is up to 19.10%, and I'm old enough to remember when it was a lot less. And PERS, right now, the cost for PERS is 27.05%. And I do remember a few years ago, it was zero for like 5 years. There was no contribution that the school districts had to make. So the total cost for classified that are PERS members is 37.11%. Those are big expenses to go onto salary. All of the things that are included in benefits, it's not just health and welfare, it's the retirement, the STRS, the PERS, Medicare, Social Security, unemployment, and workers' comp insurance. So the next slide is the components of our ending fund balance, and this is, again, unrestricted dollars. The beginning balance for 24-25 was $1,061,000. The estimated ending fund balance is $833,000. Of that, $35,299 is committed. The $57,946 is unrestricted lottery, and the remaining, the $739,919 is the 3% reserve. And I just want to bring your attention to the fact that even in the multi-year projection, the next 2 years out, we're only making the 3% reserve. Okay? So what's next? So it's some quick facts about the second interim. We have a positive certification. Yay! That means we're going to meet all of our obligations to pay our bills this year and the next 2 years. It does include $1.5 million in reductions in unrestricted for 25-26. We do have some risks to this budget that we also talked about at first interim, which includes very narrow margins, the drop in enrollment that I just mentioned of 35 students, and a decline in the percentage of attendance. We were very conservative with a 93.5% at the beginning of the year, but I'm not sure that that's even holding. Although I'm seeing the high school kind of pick up a little bit, so we'll know more at P2. And P2 is due on April 18th, so that's when we'll be having those numbers. The next thing that we wait for then is the governor's May revise, and then we'll be coming back to you with the June budget adoption.
So in what was in our packet, right now you said that we're only budgeting for 3%, but in the packet it does say that the deferred maintenance and the track will be included in the next 2 years out.
That is, yes.
Okay.
Any other discussion? So do I have a motion to approve the 2024-2025 second interim report?
I move.
Oh, as positive, sorry.
I move to approve the 24-25 second interim report as positive.
Okay, trustee White. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, thank you, trustee Zekowitz. Preferential?
Aye.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Now on to S3, consideration and possible approval of resolution 225-12 regarding certificated reduction in force, 10.6 FTE. So I want to open it to the board. Any discussion, thoughts before I open it up for any potential comment from our audience? Okay, is there anyone who would like to speak to this action item? Oh, it was.
Renee Duvander, speaking as Renee Duvander. I was speaking to a teacher at the high school today and realized that one of the cuts being made at the middle school is the only ELD teacher at the middle school, which is going to cause a significant deficit for our students. And I wanted you guys to be aware of that. Currently, that teacher is the teacher who serves as the ELD teacher at the middle school, and I've heard nothing but rave reviews from the teachers at the middle school about that teacher's services. At the high school, our ELD teacher serves full-time and providing services. So ELD is the English language development. We have students who come as newcomers in middle school. And so not having anyone to provide them services is a significant deficit. All of these teachers should be fought for, but I just wanted you to be aware that having no one to provide those services at the middle school is a pretty significant loss. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other further public comment or any questions or discussion from the board? Mr. Lyle?
Thank you, Gene Lyle, past principal here 30 years ago when I started. I may be a little late in addressing this one issue regarding the vice principal. I see you closed it. You did it in closed session. I'm just going to make a statement. Okay, I know it's done.
Okay, I'm sorry, Mr. Lyle.
Can't do it?
No.
Okay,
Unfortunately not.
all right.
Thank you, though.
Yeah, should have got here earlier.
Okay. Any other comments with regards to agenda item S3? Okay, then would someone like to move and make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 225-12 regarding certificated reduction in force.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so motion made by trustee Garrison, seconded by trustee Lucas White. Preferential?
Aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. So moving on to agenda item S4, consideration and possible approval of resolution 225-14 regarding elimination of permanent classified employee services equaling about 5.093 FTE. So I'll open it up to the board. Public comment on this particular agenda item?
While we're waiting for that, I'll just make a statement that the board did receive emails and letters that we have read and received from the community.
Thank you, trustee Garrison.
Hi there. Kathleen Lynn, and I'm a classified employee here at CHS. One of the classified positions being proposed for elimination is the 6.5-hour library manager here at CHS. I currently hold this position. Jefferson and Washington School are also staffed with a 6.5-hour position. Prior to school year 23-24, our 3 school libraries were staffed with 2 library managers. 1 6-hour position here and 1 6.5 position was split between Jefferson and Washington. I'm here tonight to suggest that a similar schedule be considered for the 2 remaining library manager positions. This way, we ensure that all Cloverdale students continue to have access to their school libraries. Without a library manager at CHS, students and staff will not be able to borrow books from this collection. During the years between 8 and 14, all 3 libraries were closed. The time and money needed to reopen the libraries were extensive. We are still updating our collections, and thanks to the generosity of our community, the Care Foundation, and district dollars, our libraries are thriving. I am in my 10th school year in this library, and I have seen it grow into an integral part of our campus. A space that is literacy centered with students accessing print materials for academic assignments and browsing and borrowing books for pleasure reading. I am confident that as a school community, we can find a way to continue staffing all 3 libraries, The students of Cloverdale deserve nothing less. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? We can give it to our, and then she'll disseminate it for you. Thank you.
Procedures.
Sorry?
Sorry.
1, 2, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah, that's on
We're gonna use that. Should I put the hot up too? That should be
Okay. Okay.
Good evening. My name is Kate Bria, and I am here tonight. I'm a classified employee, by the way. I am a special ed para at Cloverdale High School, and I am here tonight in support of keeping our library at Cloverdale High School open. There are many reasons that I believe this to be true. Access to information and resources is the first thing. The library offers a wide variety of physical books for students as well as online resources. The library ensures equitable access to technology, including computers and printers for student use as well as teachers. Ms. Lynn, who is our librarian currently, also has a supply of Chromebooks for students when they forget their computer at home, and believe me, they do every day. Support for research and digital literacy teaches students how to evaluate sources and conduct research. This is an important skill for college. The junior English class is required to write a term paper each year. They use the library for topics in research, and this is a graduation requirement. Collaboration. The library provides areas for group projects, studying, and interactive learning between students and teachers. The English class comes into the library to discuss books that they've been reading with their teacher. Academic and personal growth. Our library partners with our local library for a weekly book group for students throughout the school year. The library also provides a quiet, comfortable place for studying. Guidance for college and career readiness. Representatives from different colleges give presentations to students about colleges. There is a section in the library for college applications. There is also a scholarship application list that's available in the library. Ms. Lynn offers assistance with applications for both of them. And since we currently don't have a counselor in our school, she plays a valuable role in letting kids know what scholarships are available and helping them fill out both the scholarships as well as the college applications. There is a section in the library with information about various careers. There are also books available and online resources. Our workability program here at the high school uses the library every Wednesday for students to learn resume writing and interview skills, as well as other skills they may need before going to work. Community and well-being of students. The library offers a safe, inclusive space for all students. The library supports mental health by offering a quiet space for students who need a break during the day. Last thing, the students need a library here at CHS. The library is as important as any other class on campus. Please consider keeping it open. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? You can step on up to the podium.
Hello, my name is Lily Young, and I'm currently a junior at CHS. I would like for you guys to consider please keep the library open, as it provides many resources for students here, including myself. As mentioned before, this library helped all juniors do research on their term paper, and I think it was very important, especially because a lot of us here did not know how to use the public library here. So it definitely helped us do our research as well as help us with other classes. And the library here also, as mentioned before, provides Chromebooks that a lot of my friends forget all the time. And they also provide printing, which is very helpful when, we have to print projects, we have to print our essays as well as other things. And also this library provides a safe space for many others, including myself. Here we have many club meetings in here, like the book club mentioned, and it is also a very convenient way for programs and other stuff to have meetings. I'm part of Upward Bound, and we have monthly meetings in here, and it would be really inconvenient to go find a teacher who would house the monthly meetings. Also, the library provides a lot of other things besides just providing books. It has games and puzzles, and I think this library really encourages the kids here to be engaged at the school. And the last thing I want to say is I really wish everyone can do their best they can to try and keep this library open as much as they can. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Step on up. Thank you.
Thank you, Board. My name is Jean-Luc Shaw. My daughter is in 8th grade. She'll be attending CHS in 9th grade. I come to this discussion a little late, so forgive me if there is a background I'm not aware of. I did show up to kind of learn more about the budget and why positions are being cut, so I'm still forming opinions on that. But I did find it troubling to hear that this library is in danger of being closed. I also found it troubling that ELD was being cut, if I got that correct. There's not much else I can say because I don't feel like I'm speaking with a lot of background knowledge about this, but I would add my voice to the others here who've said that a library really is an essential part of a good education. And if that's what we want at CHS, there's got to be a way to make that happen. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Silva. I'm a 10th grader here at CHS. And I really don't think the library should be closed. It provides a lot of opportunities. Like I've heard a lot of juniors use it for their term papers. I'm personally in like a book club here that happens every Thursday. It's introduced me to a lot of great books. It's a nice place to be if it's like rainy outside. Like sometimes there's not a lot of hallway space or not a lot of cafeteria space. A lot of times teachers will leave their classrooms, so those aren't really an option either. It can also just be a nice place if you need some time away from others, like away from like kind of like noisy cafeteria or just in general. It can be a nice place. You can just curl up in a corner with a book. I've had times where I'm like, oh dang, I really need a quote from a certain book, and it's like, well, maybe the library has it, and it does, and then that can be nice just to, maybe it's for a school assignment or just like a book that, when you have this something stuck in your head and you can't remember what it's from, like something like that. And in general, there's just so many great books in here, and I think that should be available to any student. Like I think it's crazy to me that like they're thinking about taking away such a vital resource to this campus, because it's just, I can't really picture just a school without a library in general. Like they're not doing this to the elementary school, they're not doing this to middle school, why are we doing this to the high school? Thank you.
Thank you. Any others from the audience? Okay. Any other questions, discussion, trustees? Okay, does someone have a motion?
I will motion to approve Resolution 225-14.
Okay, trustee Lopez White makes a motion. Do I have a second?
I will second.
Trustee
You
Ogami?
can pick.
Okay. Okay, preferential?
Aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Now, moving on to S5, consideration and possible action to revise board policy 3100.
Last school board meeting we had, we were looking at board policy 3100, and you guys had sent me a way to come up with some possible language we might be able to put in there. So what I did is I went and looked at several districts' language that have in there for board policy 3100, which talks about the reserve balance. And what I have in here is I have some different options that were different than what we currently have. And so judging by what I've seen, what I saw is that there's kind of all over the place depending on what boards want to do. We had some of them that said that they wanted to make sure they had 27%, and so there was kind of things all over. But what I wanted to make sure you saw was just kind of the language that was written there. And obviously the numbers could be traded for whatever they want. I know that Board Member Ogamian talked about maybe doing some sort of a triggering language type thing. But I just kind of wanted to give you guys some things that were out there. I would say probably maybe 100 different districts I looked at. I didn't see any triggering type language, other than a couple of them say, like the last one there talks about the Government Finance Officers Association and 2 months of expenditures, which for us is about 17%. But there's just different kind of formats there. So just kind of wanted to bring that back to you guys. And then, of course, we do have the current policy in the board packet as well. And again, we're only talking about that one part that talks about the reserve balance, right? That first sentence, essentially, that's there for that one. And again, we put this on the board agenda as consideration and possible action. It doesn't have to take action. We're just kind of continuing the discussion for that. So questions or comments or?
I think the way I was looking at it more was just the wording alone was maybe to add in years of fiscal straits or dire straits, we try to meet the.
I mean, just change the sentence that already exists, you mean?
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
And the last one was speaking to me, the whole Government Finance Officers Association.
Mm-hmm.
I like the language of it because it keeps it general enough when it says a district could find that it needs to spend cash.
Right.
At times that differ from when cash is received, just because obviously, and of course, why am I talking without that on? But still, I'm loud enough, I've been told. So it's good. But I like the language of that. It's like we will try this, but yet we still have that option. Like I like the language of the fifth one the most.
And really, it's your guys' choice, right? Because like we talked about last time, it's the board policy is your board policy, right? So whether or not what's happened before or previous it needs to reflect what your guys' part is, right? So I'm just trying to give you some different options that were out there. So discussion with you guys, great.
I like the first one. It's just simple and cut and dry. A minimum 10% general fund reserved for economic uncertainty shall be established and maintained and may only temporarily go below 10% with the approval of the board. So that to me would signify that we have to acknowledge it and yeah.
And know that we have to go on a path to either make cuts or find ways to bring us back to the 10%.
Right, and just so you know that the minimum required by the state is 3%. You guys all know that.
Yeah.
Right.
I see the last one as, I can see it the way you're saying it, Trustee Candelaria, but I can also see it as if it's, I don't want us to feel like we have to put more, like if your superintendent
yeah.
is saying 17% is 2 months, that almost is increasing it to me, but
It was only really, actually, to be quite honest with you, that was always, that can be changed. I'm not stuck on 17 at all. In fact, actually, that's kind of a massive number, or at least percentage of our, but I liked the last sentence. I think that's what I liked about it so much.
And my main thing would be, don't get caught up in the numbers. The numbers are just
Yeah.
the numbers, right? So I was looking more at the language than the numbers.
Yeah.
Right? I don't want you to steer you just because if you go with the last one, for example, you have to do 7. No, it's just language we're talking about now, because those things you could fill in for that part.
Well, could we take that sentence and throw it on the first one? Somehow, essentially.
Mix them together.
That way, at least the language can be interpreted.
Interpret.
You know what I mean, individually and collectively, and, okay.
I-
I'm cool with that.
I mean, I think it's really important that we stay at the 10%
Yeah,
because with those uncertain times, like now, had we not had that, we wouldn't have been able to cover our budget.
Agreed.
And the reason we are able to meet our budget is because we had that extra reserve.
Well, we were able to weather the storms that came through for that.
Correct.
I think my only concern, and I be speaking more from my profession than necessarily, there might be a tiny bit of influence. I'm just concerned that with, like, over the years with that language, like things, raises, negotiations, all these different things, like where does that fall into? You know what I mean? Like if we are projected to only meet our 3% reserve for the next, Krista, you said, right, the next 2-ish school years. Yeah, that's a long time. You know what I mean? I guess I want to think bigger picture for us retaining and attracting and keeping up with COLAs and all of that kind of stuff, that I guess I'm a little leery of, we have to meet that 10%. And then everything, you know what I mean? I think that's what I'm kind of uncertain of. And I know that it's important to have those reserves. I totally agree with you, Trustee Garrison. I do not disagree at all. I guess I'm just wanting to have a way that we're not so incredibly strict to where we can't do other things. Do you know what I mean?
That's why I like the first one, because the board has to approve.
Yeah.
It states it, where I don't think it should be.
Which is essentially what we did this year.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why
Well,
I'm saying
what we
that,
have
because
to
we
do
did
for
that.
But it's just not
But
in
it
our
spells
board
it out.
policy.
Spells it out.
Yeah.
Keeping us in line with board policy.
To be,
Yeah.
I aligned with you, Ashley. I circled the first one.
So are we doing some meshing? Is that what we're doing here, kind of like a couple?
That's fine.
So let's try to get that ironed out a little bit, so I can bring that kind of back with the new
So
language.
So if I hear
So,
it
yeah,
correctly,
if you could-
it would
We
be.
can just strike, of the last one, right? Let's
Yeah.
strike or, where it starts at or 17%.
Okay. that
We could
sounds good.
strike that out if you guys are fine with it.
Yep, and then just put a district should, okay.
And then can we just add the first one to the end of that? Does that make sense?
So it would be,
Because it kind of like, it gives you the language you liked, but then it adds
Could you
the
read
cut
what
and
you're-
dry.
what you're thinking?
Oh, okay, so if I would read it correctly, the Government Finance Officers Association recommends reserving an amount equal to not less than 2 months of general funds operating expenditures. A district could find that it needs to spend cash at times that defer
So hold on,
from.
so period after expenditures, get
Yes,
rid of that
period,
17
yeah.
other part, and then start with
Yes.
the next sentence?
Yeah, a
Got
district
it?
could find that it needs to spend cash at times that defer from when cash is received. A minimum 10% general fund reserve for economic uncertainty shall be established and maintained and may only temporarily go below 10% with the approval of the board. Because I feel like that kind of,
That's important to have, so what do we think?
I like it.
That's what I was thinking.
Sounds good to me.
So what we'll do is we will update that, and then we will bring that revised policy 3100 to you guys next month. And the reason why we can do that is because it's already a policy, you're just revising it, you're not creating a new policy.
Okay. So we don't obviously,
You don't need action.
I was gonna say,
Because we
it
haven't
was
done
just
no action
discussion.
yet.
Okay, perfect.
I mean, you could, but I think it's easier to get it in that format.
Okay.
And
Okay.
There's no time frame.
So we are on to future agenda items.
Well, can we stay on that?
Oh,
for
sorry.
1 second?
Sorry.
So I want you guys to understand that what you just heard is probably not going to, we're going to probably have to ask you to not do the 10%.
no, and I get that,
we
but
get
at
that.
least
We're
it's,
coming
this
back.
is making it, put it on us that we have to
Understood.
acknowledge it and approve it, and then we
And
are
it's
in
also
line
kind of a
with,
separate item that way.
that's our
Right.
goal, it sets it, like, that's what we want to do, but
Okay.
we
I just
can't
don't want to
always.
set you up to think that,
I guess
changing
my
that
question
step.
would be, okay, we didn't do it this year, if we know we're not gonna do it next year, in this, we're stating may temporarily go below 10%. So how long is temporarily, like,
and I
Until we
think
can
what we
again.
do is we stay on, it becomes, this is my opinion. My opinion is when we do dip below that, that triggers us, it being on the agenda every single month until we get it fixed.
okay.
I
We see-
agree.
So it's always talking about it, and we could do that. That's just my opinion. Let's just get the wording first, and then we'll go. Okay. I like.
I have it too, if you want this.
Yeah, I numbered the sentences as well. Okay. Okay.
I just think rewording it allows for times where we have no control over.
Or when we wish to.
Right. Or if something else comes up and we need some
But
leeway.
it's a conscious decision.
Yes.
Correct,
Yes.
It's
correct.
active
We
decision.
have to
It's not something
collaborate.
that's out
It
of
can't
our
just be
control
from the hip.
Or
Correct.
that we don't acknowledge.
But it's still giving us the 10% as a
As a
goal.
standard.
A goal.
Correct,
Yeah.
correct, got it.
Okay. No, I'm just making sure. Okay, so the only future agenda item we have is T1 Board Policy 6142, .7, Physical Education and Activity. So will we add the
Yeah.
revised, okay, the revision of,
We'll carry it.
yeah, okay, so carry over Board Policy 3100. Okay. Any other future agenda items that anyone would like to add?
I'd actually like to check back in on the cell phone policy and see how that's been going.
How do you mean?
We can get an update.
Yeah, just see.
Report from the schools, see how it's
Yeah.
going?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd also actually like, I know whenever I met with, I guess I could have said that in my board report, my bad on that one. With Chief Parker, he said that he would, like to give like the state of the city. Would we all be interested in having him come and deliver that? He's already done that with city council, but
Yeah.
would we be?
Does it fall under the,
Is that possible? Okay.
It's state of the city.
State of the city.
I mean, I guess, how does it?
How does it
if
work?
If it ties into
Does it
the
touch the
school
school?
district,
So
then
it does
yeah.
tie, yes, it does
But
tie
if
into
it's
talking
just-
If it's
about,
just-
like, update on SRO, all of those kinds
Oh,
of things.
Yeah,
Okay.
things that are related to
School-related.
The traffic,
school-related
yes.
things,
This-
yeah.
It's not just like, oh, look at our infrastructure. Yeah.
If the
Yeah.
traffic
That-
is involved, yes.
Exactly,
Yes.
exactly, yeah.
And we also, for the next month, we're gonna have a report from the CTE department from the high school, and then the following month, we're going to have a JEH presentation from their part, so I do have that, so this could easily fit right into.
Yeah. Okay. Any other future agenda items we want to add? Okay. So future board meetings, we have April 9th, 2025, May 14th, June 17th, and June 18th, all at 6 PM.
Move to adjourn?
Second.
I have a motion from trustee, I know I'm actually, I don't know why I'm drawing this out. Trustee Garrison, and then a second from trustee Zekowitz. Referential?
Aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?